That was just to break the ice. Hello, everyone. Now, we all know that at any Armenian gathering, the first toast is always Barov Tesang. So, may we find each other in kindness. Before I get on to my proposed toast, I would like to call your attention to the fact that when you're enjoying a glass of wine, you're holding this elegant stemware, you feel it. You're observing the color and viscosity, you see it. You're admiring the aromas, you smell it. Then you taste it, and when you toast it, you have officially engaged all of your senses for the magic of wine. Now, certainly with each toast, but more specifically each drink, we're a little bit more in tune with that sixth sense of ours, right? And certainly we all define and experience this sixth sense of ours in our own special way. So not to be confused with liquid courage, your sixth sense may be anything and everything along the lines of love, empathy, emotion, humor, intuition, excitement, bravery, bravado, courage, and passion. I will summarize this as your spirit, your voki in Armenian, or your dukh in Russian. That special sixth sense of ours that accounts for our personal taste and appetite for life. An appetite that will only be fulfilled if we are true to ourselves and allow our souls and our spirits to shine alongside all of the actions in our lives as we navigate through this journey. And so I would like to propose a toast, not to your spirit, but to the act of it. And as we lack the proper terminology that defines this action, I'm going to use one from Armenian slang. Dukhov, with spirit. Be dukhov in how you love yourself. Be dukhov in how you live your life. And be dukhov even if you have breasts. Okay, I won't keep you in suspense. Let's start with that one. So a little over a year ago, I'm about to make my first trip to Qarabağ. And as I'm sharing my excitement with my friends and family, everyone is unanimously discouraging me to make the 6-hour drive myself, warning of the strenuous driving conditions and the big curves and turns that lay ahead. Okay, so it's kind of hard. But it's been done before, and it continues to be done, right? So why was I, if I do say so myself, a pretty good driver with 18 years of experience, being discouraged to make the drive in sheer light of the fact that I am a woman? Well, I thought about this all along as I was driving Dukhov to Qarabağ, and you know what? As I approached some of those steeper curves and turns, I figured out what the whole fuss was about. My breasts were getting in the way. That must have been it, right? I mean, come on. It must be this double standard that accounts for the this double impediment that accounts for the double standard, right? Now, of course, this double impediment is more metaphorical than physical, especially with my size. But another metaphor that you may have caught on to was that of the drive to Qarabağ as the journey of our lives. Subtle, I know. Really, though, when I thought of all of the times that the direction, advice, or comments given to me in my life were filtered through my gender, the phenomenon practically merited a name for a syndrome. And so I gave it one. BGYN, breasts guiding your navigation. Not to be confused with OBGYN. Now, BGYN may pop up in any number of forms. So we have a lot of guests at my place of work. And when we do, I give them a tour of the Armas estate and winery. I'm often asked, wow, you really know a lot about this stuff, don't you? To which I respond, well, yeah, it's because I'm the boss, so I kind of run the company. So I kind of know my job, even though I have blonde hair. Let's not be so surprised, right? But, you know, perhaps it is I who shouldn't be so surprised. I mean, I have been witness to more than one occasion to see how deeply ingrained these biases towards and stereotypes of women really are. For instance, a couple of years ago, a young man comes to interview to work for me, and, you know, I ask him the regular stuff, where did you work, why did you leave? And he says, well, I had a really good job and good pay for 5 years, but you know that girl, the CEO, the director there? No, I don't know that girl, but go on. Well, we got into an argument, and typical woman ran her mouth off, so I left. Ah, yes, typical women. I can't stand them typical women either. You know what else I can't stand? I'm sure along with everyone else. It's typical women drivers, which obviously we all are, right? Ladies, have you had an incident where you stop to ask directions on the road and the guy that you ask looks at you as if he has the daunting task of explaining something to you, which you obviously do not have the intellectual capacity to understand, and he's just like, hey, like, how shall I explain? And you're like, you know, the regular way? But he goes on to explain it to you like you're a 4-year-old. I believe it's called mansplaining, this special way that men explain to women, right? Okay, so as revolutionary as this may still be, guys, sometimes we're not just women. We're people too, with brains and everything. I know, really, no need for this BGYN all over the place. Or you know what, PGYN for that matter. Parents guiding your navigation. Why, what did you guys think? Okay, anyway, PGYN and BGYN often overlap. For instance, when I was in my teens, my stepbrother had just gotten into college away from home. And you know, he was greeted with unanimous congratulatory remarks like, wow, what an adventure lays ahead, and you're going to have such an experience, you know, Godspeed all around. Great. Well, when I expressed a similar desire to go away to college shortly thereafter, my mother looked at me and very delicately said, "Do you want me to die a slow and painful death?" I mean, she said it with such certainty that I was like, oh my God, do I? No. Yeah, I think you do. No, I just wanted to go away to college and pretend to be an adult, you know, like most of us that age. But anyway, we came to a compromise. I got married and got to go to college. Not necessarily what you should do. It's just that as women, we are so often tempted to take that route. To this day, as the CEO of an awesome company with all of the taxing and rewarding work that comes along with that, you can't even imagine how often I'm still asked, like, is all this hard work really necessary? Like, you're a pretty girl, you could still get married, right? To which I respond, well, I don't know. With all of this experience and education and kids and dukh, I don't think anyone will want me anymore. I'm not just very good bride material, so I think I better stick to this career thing just in case. And you know, often the response I get is like, yeah, that makes sense. Perhaps. Call me crazy, guys, but you know what? I think with some patience and practice, I just may be able to have it all. Aim high, you know, why not want it all? Be dukhov and decide what that is for you and go after just that. Don't wait for anyone to validate your dreams or the life you hope to lead. Someone once said to me, "Bah, what makes you think you're so special?" I'm not going to tell you who. It was my ex-husband. Okay, I'm not going to tell you which one, though. It was the second one. But it could have been anyone, though discouragement certainly does hurt when it comes from a loved one, a parent, a spouse, a friend. Really, though, sometimes they just don't know better. And sometimes their advice is filtered through their own agendas or their own fears. No one knows what you want and what you can or cannot do better than you. Likewise, no one can imagine the collection of big and small nuances that account for the happiness in my life or the life that I hope to have for me. So, what makes me so special? I'm alive, and on top of that, I realize I deserve to be happy. And you know what? This realization that my happiness should not be dependent upon or defined by the love that I feel from another, but about the love that I feel towards my life, came with some understandable growing pains and divorce papers. But I decided to be dukhov and test true adulthood alongside womanhood. Or else, as a woman, you go from being a child to a wife, to a mother, to a grandmother. a beautiful and eventful course of life if that's what you want. But if you want something different, or something more, or something in between, be dukhov and go after just that. Hopefully, in any case, you will help end the BGYN cycle. Though chances are we're not going to change our parents, and we're not going to change our spouses. Well, we can, change our spouses. But hopefully, you change yourselves and you change your kids. So a while back, my elder boy said to my younger son, "Don't act like such a girl." My boy said that, I know. Ouch. Well, needless to say, I pulled him aside. And I said, "Do you realize that when you say such things, you are insulting me, your grandmother, your aunts, your cousins, your classmates, your future wife, your future daughters, and your future grandchildren? Do you?" He was 6 at the time, so he didn't really... Yeah, he didn't quite get all of those implications, but because it was important to me just to drive the point home, I tried a different, effective, but affectionate way. "Do you want me to die a slow and painful death?" Okay, then. All right, so I may have been a bit harsh, but I was honest. And you know what? There is a lot to be said about honesty, especially if you're going to be dukhov. Be honest with yourself and be honest with others. You know, most of us have been asked for advice in one capacity or another, and it may range from anything like, "Does this dress make me look fat?" to, "Do you think I should break up with him?" Okay, I want to discuss questions that are more on the caliber of that latter one. Have you ever had an incident where after the fact, the closest people to you say something like, "I knew it," or "I wanted to tell you, but have you?" Yes, so you know it's rather annoying when this happens, right? So please, when you ask for your advice, be honest. Now, you may say, "It's not my place," and I will say, "Yes, it is," if you've been asked. It's compliments that are given freely. Advice and criticism are asked for. And yes, perhaps it does require a certain amount of dukh to be honest in your advice, but honesty is an act of kindness. And while, your honesty may be just what that person in front of you needs to spark something inside. Or perhaps they need a reality check. Or perhaps they need dukh. Advice, courage, and kindness, and common sense. And remember, you are not responsible for anyone else's actions, though you should take responsibility for the truth in your advice. And don't forget, no one else is responsible for your actions. So, have you guys ever had an incident where you want to do something that you're reluctant to because maybe you think you're going to fail, or it's a bad thing, and you really need someone to give you that extra push, and they do, and you do it, and then you realize, "I really shouldn't have done that," and you just turn to them and you're like, "God, it was all your fault." Like, "Sardoué, really?" Yes? Yeah? Don't do that. Own up to your mistakes and your path. It builds you and it helps you build. Otherwise, how else are we going to know where we are lacking? You know, life is full of challenges of various magnitudes. Challenges that we create and challenges that are presented to us. And quite often, the empathetic support we receive during those times is along the lines of, "This too shall pass," or "May it be a lesson learned," or "It could have been way worse." All very good counsel indeed, but the most poignant and moving interpretation of the man-made and natural disasters in my life, in our lives, was imparted to me by an artist friend of mine as we walked through the yet earthquake-ridden streets of Gyumri. "Earthquakes," he said, "in cities and in life, allow us to see where we are strong and where we need to rebuild." Now that is a dukhov approach. Lest we forget that despite all of the counsel and compassion we receive during our difficult times, we still have to clean up the mess ourselves. So give yourself the counsel that you need. Be honest with yourself, or reality will be, and you may just find that your insecurities were just good common sense. Just ask yourself, is your reluctance to do something a lack of your abilities or an abundance of fear. Make up for what you lack and continue on your path, if that's what you want. Love yourself enough to let go of the things that you don't want anymore, or the people you don't love anymore, and certainly of the people who don't love you. Love yourself so much that you never forget the whole point of this life thing is to be happy. And you know, sometimes it is difficult to be happy while we're on our path to happiness, but believe me, your spirit will find you. Several years ago, when I had just undertook this grandiose responsibility of the construction and management of a 180-hectare, that's 450-acre estate, and world-class winery and distillery involving hundreds of people from all over the world in the middle of nowhere, honestly, I was constantly exhausted and mostly miserable. Maybe it's because we didn't have wine yet. Probably. But in any case, I may have been dukhov in not giving up, but I was certainly not dukhov with regard to the quality of my experience. And after a few such years and an awful day on top of that, I lay in bed in the middle of the night feeling completely sorry for myself and irreverent to and uninspired by anyone else's success stories. And I'm just flipping through the TV, old TV, nothing is really working, middle of the night, and I'm just like, Jesus, how much more of this can I endure? And literally at that moment, as if directly interrupting my self-loathing thoughts, Johnny Depp's image of Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean goes, "Hey, listen." Yes, it's not the problem, that's the problem. It's how you approach the problem, that's the problem. Okay. I mean, really, these words served as an epiphany for me. It was as though my dukh was trying to find me. So thank you, Johnny, or Jesus. It was just these words that I needed to help me change my approach and my perspective. And I did. And you know what? I found in that incident, as in many others, that if you're looking for your dukh or your spirit, and for whatever reason, or direction, and for whatever reason, you lack the support system to get you through, if you pay attention, your spirit will find you. And it may be Johnny or Jesus or the inspirational quote that pops up on your computer like, the harder you work, the luckier you'll get, or a song on the radio like, everything's gonna be all right, right? Or something really cool in your horoscope like, stop the internal struggle, today is a day for play. That's my personal favorite one. But pay attention or seek it out. Just remember, no one knows you or what you want better than you. So what would you ask you if you asked you for advice and you unconditionally loved you? One more time. What would you say to you if you asked you for advice and you unconditionally loved you? Say that. Okay, and you know what? This new dukhov, honest and self-loving approach is going to help you better handle negativity and discouragement, or what is commonly referred to as haters and hater talk. Such dukh helps you drown out that noise and focus on what you're doing, not to prove anything, but because you want to. The proving will happen all by itself. Now, one of my personal favorite hater comments is, big deal, she did all that with her father's money. Not quite all that. But yes, I did proudly start with the bank of dad. Now, you may start with Ameria Bank, or HSBC, or EBRD, or World Bank, or a partner, or an investor, or a grant, or a personal loan, or hell, your spouse's money, right? Obviously, each of these incidents will have their positive and negative nuances. What remains the same, however, is the work that you still have to do. Lots of it, depending on your ambitions. And you know what? If you work hard enough, perhaps you will have the privilege of being the bank of dad or mom for your children. And if you're lucky, they won't bankrupt you. In the meantime, your work speaks for itself, and everything that you do is a reflection of you. Just remember that when you are chartering a course, an uncommon path in your professional or personal life, those along the sidelines may discourage you, only because consciously or subconsciously they believe that your choices overshadow or belittle theirs. Number one, it does not. And number two, it does not matter. Unless, of course, you want to chart your course in a way that makes other people feel comfortable in their lives at the expense of your true potential and your desired goals. You get to define those parameters. Just be honest with yourself and proceed with dukh. You know, in driving, well, in life, like in driving, sometimes you see the road ahead of you, and sometimes you have to take it slow until the fog clears. But don't you want to be at the wheel? The person that you are, navigating you towards the life that you hope to lead? I do. And you know what? I don't drive like a girl. I don't drive like a boy, for that matter. I drive like me. And even if my breasts do get in the way sometimes, it's a hell of a ride. I hope you enjoy yours. Dukhov.